What up, everybody? It's Jason, your boy, Zombie Collector. Thought I'd go live today on this Monday, the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. It's a federal holiday, so I got the day off. So I am just thought I'm sitting here not doing much. I was watching a lot of Nuff Said Cards, Andrew's channel, trying to get caught up with a lot of his stuff. I finally got caught up with Mark from Kentucky, Mangini stuff. I'm pretty caught up on now. He posts regularly, so sometimes I can get behind on him. So I got caught up with him again. Who else have I got caught up with? Like Carlos. I am Carlos, or because I'm Carlos. I can't even remember what the actual term or name of his channel is. Um, and then G's Mikey. I've been watching him a lot more recently. And I gotta say, and um, Alex Bowman 53 had told me about his channel years ago, and for whatever reason, I just don't know why I never went to his channel. I just didn't. I don't know if at the time I had so many other channels I was watching, or what the case may be. But it's all on me, and he was right. I really like my G's Mikey's channel, so I've been catching up a lot of his videos. He doesn't post luckily every single day, so I've been able to get caught up on most of his stuff over the last couple of days, over the last year or so. He's been putting out videos the last half year. I also got caught up with Brent Nearmit Musings, so that's been good to see his channel and watch his stuff. So I've been pretty busy catching up on some people's channels. I was just going to use this opportunity since I was able to figure out how to turn my phone sideways. Apparently, I must have fat fingered something in my settings at some point and press something where I couldn't rotate. And it was when you click on the button, it doesn't say rotate camera, it says something else. So I didn't know when you click on that, that actually is the icon to rotate the camera. I don't know. It's the technology in the now I'm in my 40s. I remember now I feel like my dad and my mom. It's beyond me in some ways. So unlike my parents used to like threaten me into submission to fix all their computers and their VCRs and their TVs and hooking everything up and make sure it's all running correctly. Nowadays our children don't know how anything works. They just expect it. You just press the power button and it just works. So my son is usually useless when it comes to how can I get this to work? Like what am I doing wrong? He's like, I don't know. I don't know. Unless it's his video games, he has no idea how technology works. He just expects when you give it to him, it's ready to go. So I can't ask him, but back in the olden days, we had to know how things work. Like you had to understand, like you plug it into the wall, you take all the jacks, the males and the female jacks, and the wires, and you hook it up to the AV wire with the sound wire, and get that connected to your VCR, connect that to your wall, connect that to your TV, and you knew how to do all those things. When you had a computer, you had to make sure you had your tower plugged up and set it up with your keyboard along with your monitor and make sure the internet was connected and had to run the jack from the wall to the computer, make sure that's connected before wireless internet was a thing. So, you learned all these skills, I guess, to set things up. And now it's lost on this younger generation. They just honestly think, why is this thing not working? What's happening here? So it's either here nor there, but I figured it out purely by accident. So I'm glad I was able to do that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit. I mean, I'm going to probably talk for about an hour-ish, 50 minutes or so. I might go live again later on this evening. I might see if somebody wants to go live and just talk turkey. But anyways, I thought I'd just go live because I had some downtime. So just kind of talk about this. This is going to be like a free flowing thing. There's not going to be any rhyme or reason. Just talk a little bit about just my South Carolina trip. I've been kind of alluding to it in some respects. I kind of really want to break it down now that I have some time. I find it to be funny, and I also appreciate so many people will come to me through text or through messaging on or calling or whatever. I'm talking to them like, I watched your video yesterday. I finally caught up with your stuff. It just makes me feel so thrilled that people will not sometimes watch the live, because I know people have their own lives, but they'll come to me later and say, I watched the video, finally got caught up on that. You had said some funny stuff, or that was some good points you were making. And even if it's only a couple of people, not that I need that validation, I guess the word, it's just cool that even though sometimes you have the less, and I understand 2 o'clock on a Monday is not the opportune time to go live. I totally understand that. But I just was like, people pop in, they want to talk, great. If no one talks, I'm just talking to myself into the camera, that's fine too. But it really does my heart well to know that, sometimes people will come to me, or not sometimes, almost every time, say that they really appreciate it. Sometimes days, weeks later, they got caught up on some of my live streams and they enjoyed it. And I really appreciate that. And I'll just kind of shout out some of those people: Mark from Kentucky, Ed Wesker Griff, Joe, Dr. Exclusive. I think Bob says it sometimes as well. I know he's super busy. So it's been cool. John Mangini will say sometimes he catches some stuff later. So, it really makes me feel good that a lot of those guys that I respect and appreciate will come to me later and say, hey, dude, I finally got caught up on some of your stuff. And, it's cool. Obviously I do this for part of it's just for to have something to go back and look at in the future. As most of you all know, I've said this way back when I first started. Like, a lot of this is just me just being me and just talking sometimes about sports cards or nonsense or controversial things possibly. But it's really for my son down the road. If YouTube is still a thing in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, whatever, and I'm no longer here, he'll have this, So not to get all morbid or like get weepy or whatnot, but it's just, it's the reality. I think about those things. I don't know if any of us really think about that, but the ones with kids or family, this is something that might be something they can have in the future about who you are and what you found passionate about, or what things you cared about, and your thoughts and insights and views, even if it's over real ridiculous things like baseball cards or whatever. It just be something there that the generation before us never had, quite frankly. So it's cool to have that, and so it is what it is. You can take it for what it's worth. But I want to talk a little bit about my trip to South Carolina, because I thought, if people know me and know my channel, they know that I like to spin a story, or spin some yarn, or spin some yarn or whatever, and tell stories. Though they're true stories, they're not a fabrication. But I do enjoy a good story, and so I thought I'd share this. So my son had, as most of you know who've been watching, had a travel baseball tournament in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My ex-wife and I and our son had never been in South Carolina, so we were looking forward to going. And my ex-wife, in a former life, she was a hotel manager, so she's really good about selecting properties to stay at, either condos, resort areas, hotels, whatever, you name it. And we've been to Atlanta together. We've been to Florida multiple times. We've been to North Carolina multiple times. All things that she's picked out and she's done awesome jobs, fantastic. Then like local Indiana, Midwest stuff she's picked to do, like trips and things, all great. A lot of it had to do with our son's travel, baseball, a lot of it just for family vacations. She's been great at it for years. But she's really hung up, and I understand she wants an ocean view. That's like one of her big things. If we're going to be around the ocean, she wants this ocean view. And I always let her take care of it, because I don't want to be responsible, even when we're divorced, to have the fallout if I didn't do something to her high hoity-toity standard. So I'm like, you do it, I'll just show up, I'll of course pay my portion, and we'll be good to go. So we go to this place, and we get there, and it is, I will tell you all the details, because I think it's worth it. The place was called Compass Cove on Ocean Boulevard, right there in the heart of South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. And I think she was really hung up on it being on the beach and the beach view, which is, of course, a more pricey than the hotel itself or the condo itself. And some of this is not, by no means is her fault. It's just the reality of sometimes you get blinded by other things, you get sidetracked, and you don't really think about what the full picture. You kind of tunnel in. And I don't know all the thought process, because it was mostly like, hey, here are like 15 different places, Jason, what do you think? So I'm going through it and all this, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, what about this one? I'm like, sure, it's fine. It looks okay to me. But I'm relying on her, because she's been doing amazing for the last decade that I don't think much about it. I'm just like, yeah, it looks good. So anyways, as you can expect, because it's a big holiday weekend, a week ending of the weekend, also there's the tournaments going on. I think there was some kind of music festival as well, or like whatever. So the prices were higher than probably normal, even though of course it's going to be high because it's in summertime on top of everything else. So we go to Compass Cove. We get there on Saturday late night. We stayed in line for a while. I get everything, and so we get our passes. And we go up to our room. So the clientele is questionable at the first. When I went in there, it's like the Redneck Riviera. That's what I like to call it. It's the Redneck Riviera. It was a mix of like good old boy, good old hometown, corn-fed hillbillies mixed in with a lot of thuggish, ruggish bone, 1990s reject, NWA fans and Eazy-E fans, and so like this weird mix of people that are, hey, what up, Stu? There. So it's like, it's like this kind of gangsta vibe with a hillbilly vibe. You don't really know what's going on. And so I'm already like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like it just feels you just feel like out of your element. But it is what it is. So I was like, all right. So just to get into the room, we had to go through some shenanigans. I had a lady that checked us in, had like them big old fake eyelashes or whatever. Is that what it is? Eyelashes. They were like so heavy on her eyes. She was like barely could keep her eyes open. She was like, "Hi, sweetheart, how you doing?" And her like you could barely you have to do the Clockwork Orange and like get some some toothpicks or something to keep her eyes open. So after getting through all that nonsense, we get up to our room now. She picked the refurbished, updated room. Okay, so we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. So we're like, all right, well, not unbeknownst to us, apparently they changed our hotel reservation or condo reservation a day earlier. So they downgraded us and raised the price, which never been done in the history of man. If the hotel screws up somehow, the condo screws up somehow, they usually, if not always, upgrade you, and it's at no cost to you. So this was at a cost to us and a downgrade, but we didn't know it until we got there. So we go into this condo we're in, and it looks like we just stepped into like 1989. And that's not an exaggeration. That's 100%. Like it looks like it hadn't been touched since probably the building was built like 30 plus years ago or whatever. So it looked rough. Just walking in the door looked rough. So the first thing you notice in this hotel room, again condo, is that you're walking right in. It's like a shotgun. It's not a condo. It's not spacious. It's not spread out. It's like a shotgun room. So we got 3 people in this like kind of tiny room. Next, the kitchenette or wherever you're in, the dining room. It's not even dining room, just a kitchenette area where you just have your stuff. There is tile already broken. It's like smashed down. And you're like, hold on, wait, what? It's all smashed, like in 2 or 3 different sections. Then at the corner of the room, right where the carpet begins, what the room is, and where the wall is, the carpet's pulled up. Like somebody like trying to pull the carpet up. So there's like this big swath of carpet just like been ripped up. Then the patio or the entryway into your little patio area, we're on the 16th floor, the highest you can go. And I'm like, okay, and the carpet looks like this atrocious. Like hookers were killed there a few years before. It was awful looking. Have you ever seen the movie 4 Rooms, the Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino, 4 Rooms? It has a very much that vibe to it. So we go through the little, right past the beds into where the window, the sliding door is to get out to the patio area. And so I grab the handle to pull the sliding door, and the handle like rips off. Now I would like to think it's me because I'm like an Incredible Hulk, but no, it was like the screws were stripped or whatever in the actual door handle, and so when you pull it, you just pull it right off. So it's like barely hanging on the top, but the bottom like completely just broken off. And I'm like, what in the heck? It looks like New Kids on the Block back in the 80s, like, just like blew up this, like, just damaged this room all to hell. And now we're living in it. Like, they just like checked them out and we just moved right in. And then they have carpet outside on the outdoor deck area, awning, whatever you want to call it, outdoors, like in your patio area. I forgot the right terminology, but anyways, it's not the fake wood or concrete or anything like that. Like, it's actually carpeted. So water or God knows what else just absorbs in this carpeted area outside. It's in the elements that has been there, I'm assuming, since Jesus was a baby. And so God knows what's living inside that, underneath that carpet. So I had told Luca, and I told my ex, I'm like, whatever we do, you do not want to go out here without your shoes on, without any kind of like slippers or something, because you don't know what you're going to be getting all over your feet. Well, then you have this like little, again, when you get like the condo and the ocean view, you want to have like an ocean view. Well, here it's like this very narrow view of the ocean because they have these brick walls that jut out past the actual room. So you don't really get to have this like horizontal or picturesque view or whatever the right terminology is, but like the nice long landscape view of the ocean and the beach. It's like you have like this little, like, instead of the rectangle, right, you have like the square, because you have these walls that are jutting out past the room itself. So you almost have to hang off the balcony to like see a more panoramic view of the ocean and the sea and all that. So I was just like, oh my gosh. Then the skirts of the bed had some sort of previous liquid on there. God knows, I didn't want to ask. I did not want to get in there with a black light and get too deep in the weeds. But there was some sort of liquid that was spilled, let's just say spilled or dropped or dipped or whatever onto like the skirt of the bed. And I just was like God knows what that might have been. So I was like beside myself. My ex-wife was trying to put on a happy face, and my son was just like, what are we doing right now? Like, what's happening? Is this real life? So you can tell he lived a very pampered life, because he thought he just walked into like the Goodwill version of a hotel room. And so he was like losing his mind. So I call up while my ex was taking a shower, trying to like wash the room off of her. So I call down to the front desk and tell them what I've just told you all. And I'm like, this is unacceptable. And I told them everything. She's like, well, tomorrow morning, which would be Sunday, which is my son's first day on the field, and like they're like opening ceremonies, that the lady, I don't want to say the people's real names because God, who knows, but the lady who runs the place, or the manager, will be there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So my son's soiree starts at like 10:30. So like, perfect. I'll get down there before 8 o'clock, have this conversation needs to be had, and we'll be good to go. Well, I get down there at 7:50, and they're like, oh, she doesn't show up till 9. So I'm like, here we go. They're kicking the can down the road, just hoping the person just deals with it. Well, they got the wrong dude for that. I'm the wrong white boy for that stuff, because I am not going to just let things slide. You're not going to bamboozle me. You're not going to just have me. You're not going to hoodwink me. We're going to have that conversation. I don't care who it needs to be with, but I'm going to have that conversation. So I was telling this one lady who was running the front desk or running the manager's area, I told her what I told you all. I said, not only did we have a crappier room, they changed the room on us. They increased the pricing. I mean, I just went in on her and told her the whole thing, not like in a disrespectful, rude way, but I mean in a stern, like, this needs to get fixed kind of way, because no one wants to deal with a rude person, and being rude, as we all know, usually does not help you. If anything, it hinders the progression to get what you want. So I start out all cotton candy and rainbows and daffodils, and unless you just are unwilling to work with me, then we got problems. But until then, I'm just like, we need to get this fixed. Let's tell me how I can help you. Help me get this fixed. So she's like, I'll have her. She'll be in at 9. We'll go over what's our options. We'll contact you in a couple hours, and then we'll see if we can get another room available. So I'm like, where's this other room? Because they said a lot of people will leave. Of course, you'll have cancellations. And in between like 9 and 12, they'll have more rooms open up. And I said, well, what about the rooms that we're supposed to get? One of the rooms there And then she was like, oh, well, those rooms are, they're refurbished, but they're not that good, and it's really tiny. You have a better room. I'm like, did you just hear what I told you? It's a better room. So the room that we were supposed to get, is that in hell? Because this room's already like one level above hell, like Dante's Inferno. Like the room we're already in, it feels like we're like in the seventh layer of hell already. So I'm like, the place that we could be going to that's supposedly better is actually worse. I don't understand. They couldn't really explain it to me other than it was just a smaller room. I'm like, if you mean smaller, but it's, free of mildew and mold and broken doors and ripped up carpet and human liquid or whatever on the skirts of the bed, I will take my chances. And they just were like boo-hooing, like, oh, I don't think you want to go there. You got the better place. And I'm like, I don't get it. So I waited. We went to our son's baseball opening ceremony. Jason Kendall was there of the Pirates fame, 3-time All-Star. Jason Kendall, he was there to throw out the ceremonial first pitch and gave all the boys a nice conversation, a nice attaboys, which was really cool. He was super nice to everybody, shaking hands, taking pictures, spending some time with the boys, just giving us some, words of encouragement, which was super cool. And then, so then my ex gets this random text, like kind of like the concierge, just wanted to be like, well, hey, how's everything going with your stay? And she's like, it's not going really well, actually. It's terrible. And this is like a third party, apparently, who just kind of handles these properties. So they call because they want to know what's going on. And she's like, here, Jason, you take care of it. And I'm like, now I'm taking care of this too. So I'm putting out fires everywhere. So I talked to this lady. I tell her all the things I just told everybody right here. And she's like, oh, and then she names the same lady who I was told to, that was supposed to take care of the issue initially, who wasn't there, will take care of it. She's like, oh, it's above my pay grade, but this so-and-so, she will take care of it. She is so nice and so sweet. She will take care of it for you, Mr. Payne. And I'm like, all right, ma'am. So you really just wasted my time for no reason. So we get back to the hotel, condo, whatever. And I go in, and it was like packed with pissed off people. There were like, I'm not even exaggerating, there was probably 30 people at least crammed, either trying to get their hotel room or trying to say how pissed they are about their accommodations. And I'm like, I'm not even dealing with this. I'm going to come back later. So I come back. I talk to the lady. She finally shows up, and I'm like, hey, my name is Jason. I talked to so-and-so. And I was like, I'm here to talk to this person. She was like, well, who told you to ask for so-and-so? And I was like, this other lady. And she was like, oh. And so she knew that I knew her name. Like, she couldn't get out of it. Like, you could tell she didn't want to talk to me. She wanted to try to like push the blame and kick the can down the road. And I'm like, who's going to take ownership of this? This is your problem. This is not my problem. I'm dealing with this on day number 2. This is supposed to be a vacation, and I'm still dealing with this for 2 days. This should have been resolved on hour 1. Now we are 20 hours past all that, day 2. So she goes, I can give you a card to go check out this other room, which they said was so terrible and bad that you're going to want to stay in the room you're in. And I'm like, well, can we at least see this other terrible room? And she's like, sure. So she gives me the card. And then she goes, if you don't like it, we'll still work with you with the room you're in and all this. And I'm like, all right. So my ex and I and supposedly they had like 5 properties on this section of land that they own, as Compass Cove or whatever. So we go down to one of their properties. It's like walking distance from the registration area. So we go down there, and she wrote down 8,700. 8,700. There's something going on. I don't know what's going on. You may not be too far off from the truth on that, but there might be something going on there. And so we walked. The hotel room condo was 8,700. That's a pretty big number. We're like, all right. So we go there. We go up all these eight floors. We get off the elevator, and there's a very small building. It's not a big building like the one we just came from. It's much smaller. So we get off the elevator. We're looking around, and there's no 8,700. There's not an 87. There's not an 870. There's no 8,700. So there's no 8. There's just like a handful of rooms, and I'm like, where is this room at? So we don't even know. So we look like a couple of jackasses more than normal. walking around, and probably people are like, who are these people walking around with like a key card in their hand, like not knowing where they're going, like they're lost. So we go back downstairs, go back across the way, and I catch a guy who's like a maintenance guy, and I was like, hey man, can you tell me where this actually is? And he goes, where did you get this from? And I go, so and so gave it to us so we could check out this room. And he's like, that room doesn't exist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What? So we're walking around like a couple jackasses looking for this place where it does not exist. It's like, where, like, what is it? Was it Where is John Malkovich, or Searching for John Malkovich? It's like we're in an alternate universe right now. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I was talking to my ex, and I'm like, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep looking, go back and ask her to get us the key for the right room or a real room that exists? Or do you just want to suck it up where we're already there and to see what they'll do to accommodate us? And she was like, well, let's go and talk to her and see what she'll do. I'm like, all right. So I go in there, and I just played off and was like, yeah, that room, whatever. What are our options if we stay where we're at? And so she was going to give us basically a night for free. That's basically what it turned out to, a couple $100 off the bill, and lower the price to what we actually paid for, which was the initial deal. So I said, let me go talk to my ex, because I told her, I was like, I don't want to make that decision, but I think that'll work. I go talk to her. She said, that's fine. So it finally got resolved. And I'm not even kidding you. Like literally a day and change after we first got there, it finally got resolved. It was just a complete and utter nightmare. It was like just, I mean, filthy. You could tell like the people go in there, the actual cleaning service or housekeeping or whatever, and all they do is change the sheets, probably take out the garbage, change the towels, clean the sinks and the toilet, I guess, clean around them, clean them, and then that's it. They do no deep cleaning. They don't pay for a service that comes in and do deep cleaning. They don't actually clean the real beds. They don't clean the floors. They don't clean anything else. They do the bare minimum to just keep it going. So fast forward 2 days later, I'm actually, if you all remember, I was doing a live stream. This is like something, if you see the ocean in my live stream from about 3 or 4 days ago, I'm like talking and just like goofing off and just like kind of talking about life or whatnot. And all of a sudden I abruptly end that live stream. And people probably might have been like, well, that just kind of ended abruptly. What happened? So I look over my corner, and I was outside, and I had the door shut, as you could expect, because I don't want God knows what to get into the bed or into the kitchen or the hotel room. And my ex is like up on the bed, like freaking out. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she was like mouthing, Jason, get in here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is there like a axe murderer in this room with us? So I like quickly shut off the screen. I'm like, oh God, I got to turn this off because God knows what's going on. So I shut off the live stream. I run in there and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, there's some kind of bug bug on the floor running around. I'm like, what? And she's like, it was on my foot and crawled up my leg. And I was like, ugh, what? And I'm like, well, what was it? And she's like, I think it's a cockroach. And I was like, oh God, a cockroach, what? And any bug I'm not scared of. I'm not scared of mice or rats or snakes or any kind of like animal. But a cockroach is like my kryptonite. I do not like cockroaches. And I mean, those things survive nuclear blast. Like they survived extinction when everything else like died, when the earth was like caused all the animals to be extinct. They survived global warming, all this stuff. I don't want to be anywhere near these things. Like can live forever under any circumstance. And as you know, they carry diseases, and it's just nasty. It is ugh. And so I was sitting there thinking, and she said it was huge, and I'm like, really? What? So she gets over there against the wall by the phone, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh God. So I'm like over there, and like I said, I don't want to walk around my shoes on. I mean, I don't want to walk around my bare feet anyways, because that carpet is God knows what is probably like 30 years of like who knows what's in that carpet. So I got to take one of my flip-flops off and like push it over by this phone to try to cause this thing to come out. And all of a sudden, like she said, there was and I'm not even kidding you, like a 3-inch cockroach comes out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I thought it was gonna be like this little bitty cockroach. It was this gigantic, like Mothra looking from Godzilla cockroach. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? And so she like starts screaming and she like up and dips out and leaves me. She like runs into the bathroom. So it's just me now versus the cockroach. So I'm like, man, I sure hope that this thing doesn't fly or like grabs like a billy club and starts hitting me with it. So I pushed my one flip flop over enough to like cause it to come out from quote near the bed, so I would like run hopefully out to the middle of the floor, and I just start smacking it with my other flip flop as the best I could. It took like 3, like I'm not even kidding you, like straight bam, bam before I finally got it to stop moving, and like it just was like. And I told her, I was like, do not pick it up. We're going to call down to the front desk and have them come and take care of it because I want them to prove that they saw it and that they're going to address it. And so, and I call 5 minutes, I'm calling, no one answers the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh. So no one's answering the phone. So they're just letting the phone ring off the hook down at the front desk. They're just like not answering the phone. I guess anybody calls, they're like, oh, we're not here. So she goes down there, and the whole time I'm just keeping an eye on this thing just in case it doesn't come back to life. And she said they're going to send somebody up. Well, then she comes back and said they're going to send somebody up. So in the meantime, this woman calls me back, the same woman I've been dealing with the whole time, and she goes, and I'm like, she's like, oh, your wife came down and told us that you all have a bug in there, but we're going to send somebody up to dispose of it. I'm like, all right, thank you. And I was like, and she goes, well, what was it? I'm like, it's a cockroach. And she goes, no, it's not a cockroach. And I'm like, sitting there thinking like, you don't even know what it is. You haven't seen it. I'm looking right at it. It's a cockroach. And she goes, well, in South Carolina, those aren't cockroaches. Those are palmetto bugs. And I'm like, a palmetto bug? I'm like, I never heard of such a thing. And she goes, yeah, they're around here, but they're not cockroaches. And I'm like, okay, you know. So as soon as I hung up the phone with her and I'm waiting for this young man to show up, I'm clicking on my phone. I'm like, palmetto bug, what is it? And it says, I'm not even kidding. It took me 2 seconds. It says, palmetto bug, a term used in Florida and South Carolina, kind of like a colloquialism or whatever, for a cockroach. And I'm like, it's a cockroach, lady. You might want to call it a palmetto bug. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. You can call it a palmetto bug to make you feel better, but that's still a cockroach. And I was like, ugh. So this kid shows up, and I'm telling you, like, this kid can't be more than 20-something years old. He comes up, and he's over there. He has like a big old wad of toilet paper or paper towels or something. And he's trying to pick this bug up that's already dead. And he's like, oh, it's moving. And I'm like, no, it's not moving. And he is more freaked out of a dead bug than I was when it was actually alive moving towards me. And he just kept trying to pick it up. Like, it was like the fingertips, just barely trying to pick it up. And then like they kept falling out of the paper towels. And he was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, kid. And then he goes, they got the wrong person for this. And I was like, yep, they sure did. They got the wrong person for this. So he finally got it, picked it up, got in the toilet, flushed or whatever. And I was like, just make sure you let them know that was a cockroach that you picked up. And it was like this big. And they're like, he's like, yep, I got it. I understand. I'm like, thank you, sir. And I was like, this is like nonstop, dude. All right. And then thank you. Thank you. Is it Patrick, right? I think the card hobbyist, I think his name's Patrick. And so, thank you, Patrick. You are correct. I never heard of the term, but I know what a cockroach looks like. And so, unless it's some weird variation of a bug that looks like a cockroach, which could be possible, I understand that, then, it's a cockroach. So, it's like, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. It's like, I know what's going on here. So, anyway, all that was going on with this hotel room, this condo we had for the week. It was just like nonstop stuff, dude. It was like, freaked me out. And we didn't even tell my son about that because he would not have slept in the bed or in that room for the rest of the week. So we just had to leave that part out. I was like, we can't tell him because he will freak out. And then, and I understand I probably would too. And because we all know if you see one, there's way more than you don't see. There's way more bugs, whatever, mice, rats, whatever. So you might see the one, and there's way more where that came from. So I was like playing like trying not to look in all the dark corners of the room and the crevices because I did not want to take a chance. But that thing was gigantic. I've never seen a cockroach that big. I mean, it was like a Madagascar hissing cockroach. It was like gigantic. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, all said and done, that was our weekend there in South Carolina. Like I said, I hung out with John. It was great. I got to go by Coastal. I mentioned this before, Coastal Sports Cards.
The guys down there is great. I highly recommend. I kind of alluded to this in another video, but I'll hit it up again right here. There was so many young kids going in there buying cards. I was shocked. I'd never seen that many young kids at a card shop since the 90s. And I'm hoping that's a new thing. I really do. Some of them were in there for Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon and stuff or something like that. But I would say 75% of them were in there for sports cards. And that store was awesome. The kid, I say he's a kid, but he's a college graduate that was running it the day I was there. Again, I think his name was Jack, was fantastic. Super patient with all the little kids that came in there, the teenagers. They were in there trying to like work their magic and trying to work deals. And Jack was like, being very patient with them and letting them know that he was not able to do the deals they were wanting, or that he only could do this kind of deal, not that kind of deal. But, where most older, grumpier, set in their ways, card shop owners would be like, kid, get out of here. I told you now. Chomping on a cigar, like, come on now, kid. Show me the babes. Show me the Lou's. Show me the Mickeys. This guy was, like super patient with all the kids, which was great. And they worked out heck of a good deal. Like I said, I've showed most of it on some videos. But I mean, I walked out there with a blaster, like around 10, cards that were in cases that were all marked from $3 to like $8, and then like a bunch of dollar cards that were there, and like a bunch of wrestling cards, all kind of stuff. And I walked out of there like for like $75, which most places would have been well over $100. So I thought I did a pretty good job. They cut me a lot of deals, which was great. It was just really fun, and that was great. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's a little bit of what I want to talk about. Thought I'd go live. Like I said, not too deep in the weeds with a lot of things. I don't want to make this thing go super long. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Hope you all please comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you will, and let me know what you think below. Have you had similar situations at condos or on vacations or hotels? Tell me your horror stories, your nightmares. I would love to hear. Hopefully we're not the only ones. And next time, really make sure you check the reviews. Check the reviews of wherever you're going. Restaurants, businesses, hotels, condos, Airbnbs, whatever. Check the reviews, guys. It is so important, because those reviews, and then make sure you click newest, not reviews from 4 years ago or 3 years ago or even 6 months ago. Check, and then make sure you hit reviews and click on newest reviews, and then scroll the last few months, few weeks, few days, and see what it says, because that can make a huge difference. Like there was a couple places, restaurants that looked like they were good, and we even went out that direction, and I would go there and I started looking at the reviews. And I'm like, nope, don't want to eat there. Same thing with the hotel. Like if I would have known ahead of time what we do now, if we would have done a little bit of extra research and not just got hung up on just the hotel where it was located and the view, but actually did a little research, we would not have picked that place. But I don't fault that anybody. That's just the reality of, you just think, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be this nice little vacation destination, and it really was not. So check the reviews, check the newest reviews, and then confirm if that's where you want to go to eat, stay, visit. Spend your money, because it could end up being a cluster, and you're going to be like, what did I get myself into? You don't want to get food poisoning. You don't want to have cockroaches in your room. You don't want to be charged for a room that you aren't supposed to be charged for. I mean, there's some of the most simplest things. You don't want that to happen to you and your family, especially when you're on vacation, right? So until next time, guys, I really appreciate you all watching. We'll do it again soon. Peace. Maybe. There we go. There.